All right, everyone, back to our MLA research paper. And we have now reached the part of writing a research paper that tends to confuse people and keep people from moving forward. And I don't want any of you to get stuck at this point. I don't want any of you to feel like you're not sure how to do this, so you're just going to throw something together. I want you to do your best work, and believe me, if I learned how to do this years and years ago, you can learn how to do this. The part of the research paper process I'm talking about is using and citing sources. Okay, so one thing you need to understand is that citing sources, the word I'm using here is this. I'm going to type it on my paper. Cite, to cite, or citing sources. Citing sources is just about all that word means. All it means is how to give credit to a source that you use in your paper. And it's using sources that makes writing a research paper easier than you may think it is, because you don't have to come up with all of the ideas fresh out of your head. You're going to use sources. So there are two parts to citing sources in an MLA research paper. One of them is called internal citations, and the other part is called your works cited page. Okay, so to show you what I'm talking about, I have pulled up a sample MLA research paper here. This is a sample of an MLA style research paper. If I go back up to the top, you'll recognize it. See, there's the header, all the title page information, the title. This is what we've already set up, so that should look familiar. Now, when I say that the citations have two parts in an MLA research paper, the internal citations and the works cited page, here's what I'm talking about. All right, internal citations refer to this kind of thing right here, where you see this parentheses, and it's got a name and a page number in there. This would be a page number. A lot of your internal citations won't have page numbers because you're going to access sources online. But this is what an internal citation looks like. Parentheses, and it's got some information in there. So parentheses, information. So let's take a look at this one. Phillips. No, let's go to a different one. Interview. All right, so these internal citations have to match the works cited list that you put at the end of the paper. Here's what I mean by match. I'm going to scroll all the way to the works cited page. Here is the works cited page. Okay, so if I go back up here into the paper, I should find an internal citation that has the name Adams. I should find an internal citation that has the name Gates. I should find an internal citation that has the name Grossman. Let's go up and see if we see any of those. Okay, so here we go. Here's the name Adams. Adams, page 504. Now if I scroll back down to that works cited list, there it is, Adams. So this is how it works. You make a list of all the sources that you've used in your paper. Any sources that you end up not using, you take out of this list. You make a list of all the sources that you've used in the paper, and then whatever comes first, in this case it was Adams, in this case it was Gates, whatever comes first, that's what you put in those parentheses. So again, MLA, two parts of the citation process, a list and a works cited page, and internal citations in parentheses. And you put these internal citations anywhere you use source information. So you don't have to worry about, oh gosh, I copied this from a source. I'm not supposed to do that. Absolutely you copy from sources. The only thing is to make it not plagiarism. Anytime you copy something from a source, you have to cite it. If it's word for word, you put it in quotation marks. If it's not word for word, you don't use quotation marks, but either way, you put parentheses at the end of it to show where you got that information. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our paper that we've been working with. All right, so we've been working with this paper on global warming. Okay, so I found a source last time. Remember that NASA source. I found the source, and as a way to just keep track of it, I just pasted the URL for that source onto my document. But I cannot leave that there. That is not MLA citation format. I have to change that into an MLA format internal citation. So here's what I'm going to do that. First of all, I've already set up a page for my works cited entries. This is how that looks. And this will end up at the end of my paper. I'm going to keep typing my paper, but this is going to end up at the end. All right, this is the last page of my paper, the works cited. Think about what this means. It means works that I have cited in my paper. Okay, so this is your list of sources. That's all this is. It sounds fancy, but it's just a list of sources. But you do have to list them in a particular format. And to do that, there are all kinds of tools online. So I'm going to take this URL, this address of that source that I found last time, and I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to use a website called EasyBib. This is just one. There are several others. One is called Citation Machine. But the key is that you have to find one that does MLA citations. Okay, so I'm going to go to this website called EasyBib. It's just easybib.com. And right here on the very first page, I see a couple of options. Check my paper. No. I don't want EasyBib to check my paper. What I want is to create citations. So I'm going to click there. Now what's going to come up is this window. First of all, I need to choose which type of citations I'm doing. There are other kinds of citations besides MLA, but I want MLA. So I'm going to go back, and it defaulted to this anyway, so MLA, and 8 is just the latest version. So I'm on the EasyBib website. I'm going to move this up. I'm on the EasyBib website, and I'm going to tell EasyBib that I want to do an MLA citation. And here are different types of sources. I would choose this if I had a book. I would choose this if I was citing the Bible. I would choose this if it was some sort of digital file. Look, there's a way to cite cartoons. Guess what? There's even a way to cite TV and radio. There's a way to cite pretty much anything. All right, but I'm working with a website, so I'm going to leave it on that. All I have to do is paste the URL from my source right here. Okay, so it's a website. I've pasted the URL. I'm going to click the word cite, and I'm telling this to create an MLA citation for me. Now, don't freak out if it doesn't pop up right away. It's not going to. See, it says step 1 of 4. So it brings up my website and says, hey, was this the website? Was it about climate change? Yes, it was. So step 1 is to say, yep, that's my source. And then the next step, and all these ads are going to pop up. You're just going to have to ignore those. The next step is review the information. So there's the title, climate change evidence. How do we know? Yep, that was my source. So I look over this information and then I just click on continue. All right, now I'm on step 3 of 4. And it says add missing info. Well, I don't know if there is any missing info, but I can go back to that website. It's telling me that there was no author's name. So I'm going to go back to that website and let's see if there was an author's name. Here's the article. Usually if there's an author, it'll be near the top. Not there. Let's check the very bottom. They've listed their sources, but you know what? I don't see an author's name. So I get to leave that blank. If there's no author's name, there's no author's name. So I scroll down and I click on Complete Citation. And then guess what? It does it for me. And there it is. You have to scroll down. You know, there's all kinds of stuff that pop up. But if I scroll down, there it is. Climate change evidence. How do we know? That was my citation. That was my source. So all I'm going to do here is highlight it and copy it. Okay? Okay, so I have copied the citation that this website gave me. And now I'm going to go back to my paper. Now in a minute I'm going to get rid of this because I don't need that anymore. I'm going to go back to my paper and under Works Cited, remember this button over here to align, I'm going to align on the left. The title Works Cited should be in the center. I'm going to align on the left and all I have to do is paste it in. And there is my Works Cited entry. Okay, so now let's complete this circle, because remember I told you that anytime you use a source, you use the first part of the Works Cited entry to cite it in your internal citation, right? So anytime I use this source in parentheses, I'm just going to use the first couple of words here. I might use climate change or climate change evidence. Okay, so I've got my Works Cited entry, I've got my Works Cited page set up, and I've got my introduction and my header. I'm going to get rid of this URL now because I don't need that, because now I've got that set up. That's the same thing as the Works Cited entry I've got. So I got rid of that URL. That doesn't belong. Just paste it into an MLA paper like that. And now I've got my source. I've started my paper. The next thing I'm going to do is continue writing using my sources. So when I come back in the next video, I'm going to show you an example of starting to type up my essay, my words, with sources and putting in those internal citations. So we'll get to that next. Good job.